So with that said, I'd like to introduce Rebecca Thiry here. As mentioned before, previous marketing director from Borgata, currently marketing director for Hersha Hospitality.
So much about Gen Zers that I didn't know. What about you guys? That was awesome. So my name is Becky, and I'm here to talk about one of my favorite topics in digital marketing content. So I just want to thank Chris and Pete and the whole Semgeeks team for having me here in Asbury Park today. I love Asbury. I can't wait to get some Mogo Korean tacos after I'm done. So I'm very excited about that. So just a little introduction about me. So I'm a Jersey Shore native. I live in Brigantine, just south of here, right north of Atlantic City. But I have 10 years of experience in digital marketing, specifically within the hospitality vertical. So I spent 10 years at Borgata, where I oversaw their digital marketing team. And then just a couple weeks ago, I just moved on to Hersha Hospitality Management in Philadelphia. They own and operate over 100 hotels across the country, including the Rittenhouse in Philadelphia. So I oversee digital for 10 or so of their hotels along the East Coast. But I have vast experience in both the strategy and production sides of digital. So I chose to talk about content marketing because it transcends across all channels and it can be relevant to all audiences from Gen Zers to baby boomers. So, you can have a lot of fun with content, and that was a really important part of my job at Borgata, where we use content as a top funnel tactic to really inspire and motivate guesties. And at Hersha Hospitality, they have a really important focus on content marketing because they even have a division just set up for content, so it's really important in the hospitality vertical. Oops. So today's objective, so I really want you to think differently about content. I want you to start thinking about content first when you're putting together your marketing strategies. It shouldn't be an afterthought, it should be at the forefront. It shouldn't just be an SEO tactic or a campaign extension or an activation. Why? Because content is like the Venus flytrap of your marketing funnel. So when you use it strategically, it can mean conversions and repeat visitation. So it's awesome. It's something you really need to get behind. So let's start putting content first. And I thought the Venus flytrap was a perfect metaphor for content, because just like a flytrap, content can really pull your customers in from the top of the funnel, and then other strategies like PPC and retargeting can really help pull them in and drive them to a conversion, whether it's booking a hotel room, but buying an entertainment ticket, filling out a lead gen form. So yeah, content can really help push your customers down the funnel. So where I'm going to go today with my discussion, I'm going to really define content, and then I'm going to talk about why it matters, and then I'm going to go through some examples of content that's done right. And then I have a framework I developed for content strategy development that will really help you hone in on your strategy. And then I'll give you some tips and tricks for content creation and execution, and then I'll close with some final remarks. So I really wanted to properly define content marketing because I think it's often misconstrued and it kind of gets jumbled in with some other fancy marketing vernacular. It can be a gray area. So this is a definition straight from the Institute of Content Marketing. So content marketing is a strategic marketing approach focused on creating and distributing valuable, relevant, and consistent content to attract and retain a clearly defined audience and ultimately to drive a profitable customer action. So the keywords here are really valuable, relevant, and consistent. So these things really need to be in top of mind when you're creating content. And while content can be distributed across the channel, a lot of channels and media, but the objective of all efforts must remain true. We really need to deliver content to drive an intended action. So, as I said, content can be grouped in with some other fancy words, but for today's discussion, content stands alone, but it's also can be misconstrued for native advertising, inbound marketing, influencer marketing. So yes, content can play a part in these subject areas, but today we're going to just look at content through an isolated lens. So here are some attributes that I really think are important when we're looking at content. So educational. Content must be educational. You should delight your prospects with new information or usable tips. Engaging, so as the Gen Zers said, they really like when they engage with brands and when they engage, the brands engage back with them. I also really like engaging content because it unveils hidden customer insights that you wouldn't have gotten otherwise if you didn't ask. And then editorial, very, a lot of people relate content with editorial, which is definitely true. So tell a story, really connect with customers on an emotional level. And also, content should be customer focused. Why don't you solve a problem for them? Kind of along the educational lines, give them something that they can use and that will help them. And then ultimately, content should be evergreen. So if it's not evergreen, then it's likely promotional. So it doesn't, if it has this expiration date, then you really can't really put a lot of legs behind that content. So a couple things that content is not, as I just said, it's not promotional. It shouldn't be a hard sell. It's the cardinal rule behind content. But it is really important, as we did talk before, that it should drive an action. So you should include a CTA, but do it smartly and tactfully. Don't really make it a hard sell. It also shouldn't be infrequent. So make a commitment to regular content. It should, one-offs do not build trust or authority, so customers will start to not pay attention to you if they only see you once in a while. And then content shouldn't be standalone. As I said, content plays a part in the marketing funnel, so it really plays a part in a skillfully integrated marketing campaign. And then finally, content shouldn't be inauthentic. So as Gen Zers said, they really skip behind brands that are authentic, and I think that applies to all generations. But if the content feels off-brand, opportunistic, or forced, it will have the opposite effect. It won't build trust, it won't build loyalty. So we're gonna play a game, or just a pop quiz, to see if it's content or not. So we have two pieces of asset in a social feed. The one on the left is an image from Entrepreneur magazine that's linking to a $37 course that teaches you the full stack of digital marketing. And on the right, we have a piece of content that links through to a guide that shows 6 steps to start your own lemonade stand from Gary Vee. So on the left, this isn't content. There's a hard sell. There's a price point. And on the right, this is definitely content. Gary Vee is the king of content right now, as we know. So good job, Gary Vee. And then also, this kind of also speaks to the Gen Zers really fostering that entrepreneurial spirit amongst the younger generation. And then we have 2 pieces of email blast content. So on the left, it's a really beautiful image from Anthropology, completely on brand, looks great, but there's a big CTA at the top promoting a 20% off sale. So unfortunately, this isn't content, this is just an advertisement. And on the right, we have email blast from cheapcaribbean.com, really content-rich editorial style newsletter with a listicle about the 5 reasons for a beach getaway, most romantic destinations, iconic beach cocktails. So this is really great content. And Cheap Caribbean their purpose is to book vacations. And there's no CTA about planning your vacation. There's no price point. There's no sale. But this is all meant to be a top funnel tactic to really drive, some inspiration for customers to dream about booking a vacation. So I'm going to go through a couple more examples of brands that I think are doing a really good job delivering on content really well. So Voyages is a brand that I really like. I've always loved Virgin and Richard Branson, but they came out with one of the best content marketing strategies I've seen this year. So for what Virgin Voyages is, it's a new cruise ship that's launching next year in 2020 that's catered to millennials and Gen Zers with amenities like yoga and a tattoo parlor, EDM music program with like Mark Ronson and Diplo. They have really a great brand and they're using content to really drive home the message to their target audience. So they have a lot of great content that uses witty copy, the iconic use of Virgin Red, and clearly targeted audiences with the right messages to match. So So they're definitely putting content first. So this is an interstitial on their website that prompts an email sign up where they promise drag queens and good content. We do both. So they definitely deliver upon good content for sure and drag queens. So on social, they do a great job with content. So here we have three videos. 2 on the left are educational. They highlight the unique selling points of a great cocktail program and their juice bar. So these are very informational how-to videos that highlight those features on the cruise ship. And on the right, they have an engaging ad asking for customers to participate and any questions for the captain. And then they have some really great email marketing out there. They're all on brand, rich with animated GIFs, but the one on the left I think is really great. They just last week announced they have the first Canadian woman captain to lead a major cruise ship. So they did a great content campaign around her. And then all the rest of the emails kind of highlight other unique selling points about the ship, like their nightclub, their food and beverage program, yoga, their configurable room types, and just some hashtags that they want to reinforce with their customers. And then finally, Richard Branson put out a really cool ad that singled out North Dakota residents because they realized they were the only state that had not booked any reservations on their cruise ship. So he put out a really well-funded campaign, which included a full-page color ad in the New York Times, a huge out-of-home presence in North Dakota with really clever copy, and then there's a video of Richard Branson calling out the residents of North Dakota saying, hey, why didn't you book with us yet? This is great, we have amazing products for you. And the first person who books from this campaign got a free trip from North Dakota. So that was super clever. They did a really great job. And then also this week they did a campaign with the Spice Girl Jerry Halliwell. They just wanted to promote their Rockstar Sweet products, so they did a huge video campaign with her. So it was just really great content that really spoke to their target demo. And yes, of course, they have a blog. It's called Ahoy, which is a really great name for it, but it's not the backbone of their content strategy. It's just, another part of it, but they did a great job, so well done, Virgin, and I just keep loving all the marketing that they're putting out. Another great piece of content that I saw out there was from Smartsheets, which is a project and task management software system. So I was doing a Google search for a goal-setting template, and this is what came up, and it was actually a repository of 10 or so goal-setting templates that were downloadable in Word document form. And once I downloaded them, there's a really subtle CTA driving me to Smartsheets, but I thought it was really a good example of an educational and useful piece of content that made me aware of Smartsheets, something I wasn't aware of before. But I thought that was really unique and different, something I hadn't seen out there before. So why content? Why does it matter? I hope I showed you some great examples, but why really should we be doing content campaigns? So Marcus Sheridan, the author of They Ask, You Answer, said content, assuming it is honest and transparent, is the greatest sales tool in the world today. So Marcus started out as a pool salesman in Virginia, and he had a really struggling business, and he came up with a really content-rich website which answered customers' questions directly, and he put up like 500 or so pieces of content. And after he put that out there, he quickly became the website authority on fiberglass pools, just by simply answering customer questions like how much do they cost, what are the pros and cons, etc. So he was able to turn his business around and generate millions of dollars off of that content that he put out there. So Marcus really proves that content can really have a tangible effect on revenue generation. Another reason why I like content and why it's so effective is that it can play a role at any phase in the marketing funnel. So it's funnel agnostic. It could be top funnel or it could be bottom funnel. It just has to be the right message and at the right time when you put that content out there. So let's map along the virgin content along the conversion funnel. So this is how I interpret it as experiencing the content myself. So I first became exposed to the launch sweepstakes on social media, which was targeted to UK and US Canadian customers. So of course I signed up. I love Virgin, I love cruises, so I entered the sweepstakes. So that was a very engaging piece of content. And then I got into the consideration phase where they started to send me weekly newsletters highlighting their USPs. They're all GIF emails. They really, stood out to me, highlighting more of their editorial approach. And then the social videos started to be targeted towards me on social media, which was educational. And then finally, I noticed the captain campaign announcing the first female captain from Canada. So I'm really close, just so you know, to purchasing a cruise with Virgin Voyages for July 2020. So they had a really effective marketing campaign for me, at least. So I came up with a framework to help you get started. If you really are convinced content marketing is right for you and your business or your client, this is a really simple framework that I came up with. So it's really simple. It's just 5 questions that you'll answer. What is my goal? Who is my desired customer? What problem am I solving for them? What unique content can I create to help my customer? And where are my customers likely spending their time online? So we're going to map this out with a hypothetical catering business. So what is my goal? My goal is to launch a local catering business and gain 10 leads via digital channels. Who is my desired customer? So the more specific, the better. So vacation homeowners in the Jersey Shore, Ocean and Monmouth County specifically. What problem am I solving for them? I'm solving to entertain guests with gourmet, high-end meals with local coastal-inspired flavors when time and supplies are limited. So what kind of unique content will catch their eye? How can I help them? How can they notice me in a unique way? So creating something like a list of pantry essentials for your second home, recipes with local produce, seafood, things like that, or things that they can really use and would be a very unique way for them to take notice of you. And then finally, where are my customers likely spending their time online? So this is the channel selection phase. So this demo would be on Facebook, maybe reading short weekly publications and websites, and Pinterest. So a very super easy framework to use to get you started with content. So if you need some help kind of filling in that framework, I have some tips for how to inform your content decisions a little further. So of course, SEO matters. It absolutely matters in content marketing. Sometimes it can originate as an SEO tactic from your SEO team, but and there's good reason for that. So you really need to make sure the content you're creating, you're using the right keywords, there's enough volume behind those keywords to make sure your efforts are worth your while. So I have some tips up here that I put next to each of my recommendations. So to understand keyword research and get some ideas on volume and keywords to target, I like to use Google Keyword Planner, Google Trends, and SERPs.com, all completely free things that you can do to get keyword ideas. This is my favorite part of the content exploration phase. It's looking at data and customer insights. So Marcus Sheridan, who I talked about, the pool guy turned content guru, he really focused on 5 discrete content pillars when coming up with content for his website. And they were around pricing and costs, problems, versus and comparisons, reviews, and best in class. And he had really great success when he wrote content that addressed these 5 items. But for an actionable tip, what you can do, you can review call center recordings, you can listen to the scripts to understand what types of questions your customers are asking. If you have a contact us form on your website, review the submission, see if there's any common themes that you can pull together to answer those types of questions publicly. And then Google Search Console, you can see what type of words or queries people are searching for your website and landing on them. And then Google Search Query Reports if you have AdWords campaigns live, so you can see what type of queries are coming from your paid clicks. So brainstorming is also a really fun way to get content ideas. You don't have to be a creator or a copywriter to come up with great content. when you have a brainstorming session, it really works best when you gamify it or add an element of play that really makes it more effective and productive. So, bring your team to happy hour, have a pizza party, award the person who comes up with the best content idea or the best performing content with a gift card or a happy hour. So really tap into everyone to come up with their content ideas. Crowdsourcing, this is another really popular rising way to gain content. So user-generated content. Just if you're going to go down this route, be sure you seek permission and give credit or compensation if you are going to be using someone else's content. You have to do these things. But don't be shy about asking for content on your followers. You can host a contest, you can offer goods or services in exchange for content. I even saw Daily Mail on Facebook gave a monetary award for people who submitted certain types of videos. So that was something really unique. And then this is a really fun one, and it's one of my favorite ones. But also you have to be cautious when you do, if you choose to go this approach. So topical events, themes, and trends. So things like rosé, unicorns, National Drink Wine Day. You see that all over your social media feed, and they're really fun and they get a lot of shareability. But you have to use these sparingly because if this is your only content strategy, people will start to get bored and they'll start to feel forced and opportunistic. So just be careful if you're going to go down this route. But a tip, just visit nationaldaycalendar.com to get major inspiration to see if there's something that fits with your brand or your client. Okay, this is the fun part when we go to create our content. So blogs, that's one of the backbones of good content marketing campaigns. So some success from my past experiences. Leverage your entire team as writers. Again, they don't have to be experts, and I think sometimes we get caught up in having the right persona or the right brand voice, but at the end of the day, if you're really answering customers' questions and you're giving them something useful or storytelling or editorial, it's going to resonate well. Don't forget SEO, as I said, that's really important. If you're going to put out a written piece of content on the web, it needs to be optimized with SEO. So in real life, I have some real life examples from my work experiences. So at Borgata, we saw that anytime we linked to a blog article on social media, we had a really high click-through rate compared to anything else we linked through. So blogs were really effective on social as a click-through. At Hersha, we have a blog on every single hotel page, and we really see assisted conversions come through from the blog stories that are generic about the neighborhood, attractions, nothing that's super promotional about the hotel. So blogs really do work in the hospitality vertical. And if you are going to go with a blog, make sure you keep the blog native to your site. Keep it, make sure it's linked in the main nav. Don't bury it down in the footer where people can't see it. And I really like WordPress because it's just really easy. If you have a website with a blog, it's super easy to have that set up for you. So images, the most visual of all content. So if you're going to use images, make sure they're something that stands out more, like a GIF, meme, infographics, all really popular images to use in content marketing. And no matter the channel, make sure you put copy next to the piece of content so you're telling the story that accompanies the asset. At Borgata, we really used infographics. They weren't really statistical, they weren't really numbers heavy, but we really focused on some great things like beer and food pairing and tequila infographics to convey authority in the food and beverage space. And this asset was posted as a blog, on social, email newsletters, and the web, and it had really great performance. So just for image creation tips, Canva is an excellent tool to create infographics, and then free stock image sites like Unsplash.com and Pexels.com offer really beautiful images that are unlimited restriction with even for commercial usage. So I really had good success on those sites too. Videos, the most popular and engaging form of content, Insta stories, Facebook live streams, 15-second clips, all really perform well. And just because you don't have the budget or a whole video production team doesn't mean you can't create good video content. It doesn't have to be highly produced, even raw and unpolished really conveys a sense of authenticity, something that, you know, the younger generations really seem to gravitate towards. At Borgata, we really use Facebook Live to talk about sports gaming, which recently got legalized. So we are able to use Facebook Live to educate customers about how to bet on sports and some tips and, you know, useful things to do. It was all centered around the big game. So the call to action was really to come and place a bet on the day of the Super Bowl. But, you know, there's a really big educational component to that piece of content. And then when you're creating video assets, always shoot in vertical orientation, so you can repurpose on Instagram and Facebook stories. And you can also take over the feed of Facebook, so the longer your asset is, the more real estate your asset will take up. And then long form content. This is the workhorse for B2B upper funnel lead generation. So we're talking about white papers, webinars, case studies, podcasts, blogs, all really well worth your time if you're going to put your effort behind this. But it's definitely worth, you know, extra time and budget for creation, because this asset will have a long shelf life and you'll be able to cut it up and distribute it across a lot of channels, and it will definitely be worth your extra time. And then it also can have B2C applications. So I think in the prior session, there was a retail brand that had a podcast, and I think the more editorial it sounded like it was, the better the chance that we would listen to it. So just keep that in mind if you're going to have B2C applications for any of these long-form pieces of content. So if you are going to do a long-form piece of content, make sure you gate it. So that means ask for an email address before you can show them your piece of content, so you can use that to lead gen. And then specialty content. We did a lot of this at Borgata: sweepstakes, quizzes, polls, interactive timelines, all very engaging, driving loyalty and shareability. They can also be a pipeline to source future UGC. So for example, if you did a sweepstakes, you can use the winners for stories, testimonials, videos, etc. as residual sources of content, which is a win-win. So that's why I love doing sweepstakes, because you can really get a lot of content out of them. And then if you're going to do one of these long or specialty types of assets, make sure they have a long shelf life, because it's going to take a lot of your time and effort up. We want to make sure they're live for at least 30 days to get as much usage out of them as possible. So now you have your content created, your target audience. Now it's time to find the channels to distribute the content on. Oops, a little blown out. But it's really important that you think omni-channel when you have your content plan. Post it across as many channels as possible where it makes sense. Test unexpected channels like B2C content on LinkedIn. I'm seeing a lot more B2C content on LinkedIn. It's really proven to be effective. They have a lot of engagement, a lot of likes and shares. And also, if content is performing well on social, it's important to put a little bit of budget behind it to boost it and add on that momentum. And it doesn't have to be hundreds of dollars. It can be a small budget could be sufficient. And then if you do have the budget, consider content distribution networks like Nativo and Outbreak to really boost your content, if that permits. And just a tip, keep a checklist of all channels you have access to, so paid, earned, and owned channels, so you won't be able to overlook any channel that would be an unexpected high performer. Finally, again, where would we be in a content discussion without Gary Vaynerchuk? So his content model is all about repurposing content. So he takes one long-form piece of content, he spends a lot of time creating that, 45-second blog or webinar or info deck, and then he creates micro pieces of content off of that long-form piece of content. And then he distributes that content across all channels and likely puts a little bit of money behind the content to make sure you get the biggest reach possible. So 3 final comments about content. Think outside the box. Be really creative. Where's the white space? what are what are your competitors doing? I think Version did a really good example of thinking outside of the box and creating meaningful content that were intended to drive, a customer action, which was booking cruise. Measurement is very important. I didn't speak a lot about analytics, but it's extremely important to make sure you're monitoring the success and performance of each one of your content pieces. And don't forget to A/B test content types and messages. Super important. And then, as I said this a lot, but always think omni-channel. How can you pull your content through multiple channels, distribute it everywhere, keep repurposing it, it will really pay off. So thanks for hearing me speak about content. I hope you have a new appreciation for content, and at least can start thinking about content first when you're putting together your marketing plans. So here's my information if you ever wanted to connect with me. Thank you.
Rebecca, do you mind doing a couple of Q&As if anyone has
Sure.
questions?
That's fine.
Anyone has questions?
Thank you for the great talk.
Yeah.
While you were at Berkeley, what sort of subject matters resonated most?
Interestingly, anything that had to do with the building, so the visual of the building was very popular, but food and beverage was the second content area that really resonated well. So that wasn't our biggest revenue source, but we really used food and beverage as an amenity that drove in customers to gamble and to stay overnight. So food and beverage was probably the second biggest area of opportunity with content.
Was it tips, trends?
So it was a lot of how-to videos about recipes with our celebrity chefs. So we had Bobby Flay, Wolfgang Puck, Jeffrey Zakarian do really great videos showing customers how to make these really great dishes and cocktails. So those performed really well for us.
Rebecca, I think we have a question for you.
Hi, Rebecca. I think you mentioned in your speech that Hersha has a content department.
Yes.
Can you talk a little bit about that? What exactly they do?
Yeah, so it's actually PR and content are together, so they oversee the brand-wide messaging and the brand stories for each of the hotels, and there's a unified content calendar. But there's a director, a manager of content, and also a graphic designer, producer. So they're all focused on content, which is really helpful for the whole marketing operations to see that there's content focus completely in one area.
Any other questions, guys? Any other questions?